Let me introduce you to the next First Lady of the United States, Jane Sanders. Whoa, there are a lot of people here. And there are a lot of people outside who couldn't get inside. So thank you all very much for coming. Let me thank Sparta for their music. Let me thank David Stout for his remarks. Let me thank Samia Diatzlan for her remarks. Alexandra Anelio, Marissa Marquez, and let me thank Jim Hightower, a friend of 30 years. Jim, thank you for all that you do. When I look out at an audience like this, and I see the diversity and the beauty in this audience, and let me tell you, you do look beautiful from here. And when I look out at this audience, I have absolute confidence that we can create a government that is based on compassion, is based on love, is based on truth, not what we have now of greed, corruption, and lies. All of you know that we have a president today who is a pathological liar, who is running a corrupt administration, who is a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot. And he thinks that he is going to win election by dividing this country up based on the color of our skin or where we were born. But we have news for Trump. Love and compassion and bringing people together is a lot more powerful than divisiveness. The message of our campaign, as I think all of you know, is us, not me. And that is about two very important, two profound points. First of all, Trump and his friends believe that the function of human life is to lie and cheat and step on people in order to make as much money as you possibly can. We have a different vision of what human life is about. We know that we are better and stronger and more human when we reach out with compassion, when we understand that we are in this together, that every family here, every family in America has its problems, and that we are strong when we stand together, when my family cares about your family, when your family cares about my family. That is the kind of America we have got to create. And we're going to win this election because the American people understand that there is something profoundly wrong in the richest country in the history of the world when we have more income and wealth inequality today than at any time in the last 100 years. It is not acceptable to working people in this country that 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. It is not acceptable that tens of millions of people are working 2 or 3 jobs just to take care of their families. It's not acceptable that half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. Brian, get off the stage. It is not acceptable that we are living in a society where so few have so much and so many have so little. Today, we got 500,000 people sleeping out on the streets of America. Today, we have 18 million families paying 50% of their limited incomes for housing. Today, we have hundreds of thousands of bright young people who cannot afford to get a higher education. Today, we have 45 million people paying a student debt that many of them cannot afford to pay. So what our campaign is about and what our administration will be about is rethinking America, understanding that all of our people, when I say all, I also mean the undocumented in this country. That all of our people are entitled to basic human rights. That if you work 40 hours a week in America, you should not earn starvation wages. I have talked to too many people in Texas and all over this country. Yeah, they got a job, but they got a job that is paying them a wage which is unlivable. And that is why we're going to raise the minimum wage in this country to at least $15 an hour. And that is why we believe that it is absurd that women in America make 80 cents on the dollar compared to men, and minority women, Latino, African American women, make even less. And that is why we are going to establish equal pay for equal work. That is why when millions of workers all across this country want to join a union, because they understand that when you're in a union, you can negotiate decent wages and decent benefits. Thank you, National Nurses Union. We're going to make it easier for workers to get into unions, get decent wages and decent benefits. All of you know that our infrastructure, that is our roads, our bridges, our water systems, our wastewater plants, are crumbling. You all know that we have a major crisis in affordable housing, in homelessness. We are going to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, build 10 million units of affordable low-income housing, put millions of workers to work at good-paying union jobs. And when we look at this country, we understand that education is enormously important. And we understand that if this country is going to do well for all, we need to have the best public education system in the world. And that means universal, high-quality child care. It means tripling funding for low-income Title I schools so that all of our kids, regardless of the color of their skin or the language they speak, regardless of the zip code they live in, gets the kind of education that they need. And we believe, if we believe in education, which we do, it means we believe in educators, teachers. I hope very much that many of the young people who are here will give consideration to becoming a teacher. We desperately need great teachers in America. We need more Latino teachers, more African American teachers. We need more teachers. And because we believe in the importance of the work that teachers are doing, we're going to fight to make sure that no teacher in America earns less than $60,000 a year. And because we believe in educational opportunity for all, we're going to make public colleges and universities and trade schools tuition free. "12 years ago, some of you may remember that the United States Congress, against my vote, voted to bail out the crooks on Wall Street who nearly destroyed the economy. 2 years ago, Trump and his friends gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and large profitable corporations. Well, I believe that if Trump can give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and large corporations, we can cancel all student debt in America. The United States of America, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, is the only major nation on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people. Together, we are going to end that embarrassment. And I want you all to understand, the media sometimes misses this. The idea of universal health care is not a radical idea. I live in Burlington, Vermont. Come on up and visit us sometime. 50 miles away from where I live in Canada, everybody goes to any doctor they want. You don't have to take out your wallet or your credit card. If you get sick and you end up in a hospital for a month, you come out of that hospital without owing one nickel. That's not just Canada. It's the UK, it's France, it's Germany, it's Sweden, it's Denmark, it's countries all over the world. They understand what you understand, what I understand. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. And I want to thank the National Nurses United Union. These are the nurses who are on the front line of healthcare. They're taking care of all of us every single day. They know how dysfunctional, how cruel the current system is. Thank you, nurses, for all you're doing. Now, you're going to see a lot on television that Bernie's ideas are too radical, can't be done. So let me take a minute to explain what Medicare for All means, what the nurses have been fighting for, what the American Academy of Physicians is fighting for, what I'm fighting for, and what many of you are fighting for. This is what it means. It means no more premiums for workers or their employers. Premiums gone. It means no more co-payments when you walk into a doctor's office. Gone. It means we end the insane concept of deductibles. So millions of people have health insurance, but they still can't go to the doctor because they got a $5,000 deductible. Medicare for all means we end all out-of-pocket expenses. And because we are going to take on the greed and the corruption of the pharmaceutical industry, an industry that charges our people sometimes 10 times more for the same exact drug sold in Mexico or in Canada. Under our administration, that thievery is going to stop. And nobody in America will pay more than $200 a year for prescription drugs. Now, right now, I want everybody to hear this. We are spending twice as much per person on health care as the people of any other country. It's not that we're not spending enough money. We're spending $11,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. And yet, despite that huge expenditure, we have 87 million people uninsured or underinsured. We got at least, and I think the number is higher, at least 30,000 people who die every single year because by the time they walk into the doctor's office, because they're uninsured, their situation is terminal. We have 500,000 people in America who go bankrupt because of medically related bills. Think about it for a second. Think about somebody who is struggling with cancer or heart disease or Alzheimer's. What a struggle it is to get well. And yet, on top of all of that, they got to worry that their family is going bankrupt. In America, you should not suffer financial ruin because you got sick. So today it is inhumane. That's exactly what it is. It is cruel and inhumane. So today we say to the drug companies and the insurance companies who made $100 billion in profits last year, we say to them that the function of a humane healthcare system is to guarantee healthcare to all, not to make the drug companies and the insurance companies rich. Now, Donald Trump embarrasses us every single day. But in one area, he is embarrassing and hurting not only the American people, but people all over the world. Donald Trump thinks that climate change is a hoax. Stand up. Now, Trump thinks climate change is a hoax. But you know what? The scientific community believes that climate change is the greatest possible threat facing our country and the planet. And you know what? I kind of trust the scientists over Donald Trump. So I am proud to tell you that we have introduced the most comprehensive climate change proposal ever introduced by a candidate for federal office based on the principles of the Green New Deal. And what that proposal does is it moves this country as quickly and as aggressively as we can away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energies. And by the way, under the Green New Deal, we create up to 20 million good-paying union jobs. And what the Green New Deal is about is simply saying to the fossil fuel industry, who makes billions and billions of dollars every year, that their profits are not more important than the future of this planet. This is not an issue, frankly, that we have an option. If we want to make sure that your kids and your grandchildren and future generations live in a planet that is healthy and habitable, we have got to transform our energy system. End of discussion. There is no option. And when we talk about issues of enormous importance to this country, it means major, major reforms for a broken and racist criminal justice system. This is the United States of America. We should not be having more people in jail than any other country on earth, including communist China, 4 times our size. And the people in jail, as everybody here knows, are disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native Americans. So what we are going to do is invest in jobs for our kids, in education for our kids, not more jails and incarceration. And because we believe in equal justice under the law, we are appalled that today, as we speak, 400,000 people in this country are in jail not having been convicted of anything. They are in jail because they cannot afford bail. They're poor. And that is why we're going to end cash bail in this country. And because we believe that corporations should not be making millions in profit by locking up fellow Americans, we're going to end private prisons and detention centers. And because we believe that the so-called war on drugs has destroyed too many lives, we're going to end the war on drugs, legalize marijuana in every state in this country. Let me ask you all a question. How many people here know someone who was arrested for possession of marijuana? That's what the war on drugs is about. We're going to move to expunge the records of those arrested for possession of marijuana. And I'll tell you what else we're going to do. And this is not an idea that I came up with. It's an idea that friends of mine from the African American and Latino community told me. And what they said, Bernie, you know, why don't you think about helping those communities that have been hardest hit, who have suffered the most from the war on drugs? And what we're going to do then is not allow a few corporations to control legalized marijuana in America. We're going to invest in the African American community, the Latino community, the Native American community. We're going to help those communities make a profit, create jobs from the legalization of marijuana. And let me say a word about another system that is broken and racist, and that is the immigration system in this country today. I don't know if any of you know this. I am the son of an immigrant. All right? Like many of you, my father came to this country at the age of 17. He didn't have a nickel in his pocket, couldn't speak a word of English. He had very limited education. I know a little bit about the immigrant experience. And let me tell you, on day one and henceforth, we are going to end the demonization of the undocumented in this country. You know, and I want to say this. Many of you may know this, some of you may not. You know, Donald Trump every day tells us we're supposed to hate the undocumented, right? Supposed to hate them. But when he was a private businessman in New York and is a private businessman who owns resorts all over the country, he loved the undocumented. He hired them. He exploited them. Donald Trump is not only a liar, he is a fraud. So on day one, through executive order, my promise to you is we will end all of the racist immigration executive orders promulgated by Trump. And on day one, this is, you know, some things you could do by executive order, some things you gotta need legislation for. But by executive order, we will reestablish and restore the legal status of the 1.8 million young people and their parents eligible for DACA. We're gonna end our border policy so that no federal agent again will ever snatch a baby from the arms of her mother. We are not going to be locking children up in cages. We're not going to be separating families. And we're going to end the ICE raids that are terrorizing communities all across this country. And the truth is that despite Trump's racism and his demonization of the undocumented, the American people want and we will deliver comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship for all 11 million undocumented. Now, earlier today, just a few hours ago, when I landed in El Paso, we went to the memorial at the Walmart shopping area in honor of the 22 people who were mowed down. And I was thinking what a horror it is to see that not only was there a mass shooting, there was a mass shooting here just trying to kill Latino people. That a few years ago in Charleston, South Carolina, some sick person walked into a black church, shut down African Americans. Last year, another sick person walks into a synagogue in Pittsburgh, shoots down Jewish people. What we have got to do as a country is do everything possible to end the hatred. We are all human beings with common dreams. We share a common humanity. And we got to end that hatred. We got to come together, black and white and Latino, Asian American, Native American, gay and straight. We got to bring people together. And as president, I will do everything I can to do that. And let me tell you this, that our cabinet, our administration will in fact look like America. Now, there will be at least one old white guy up there. But you're going to look, when you see that cabinet, when you see that administration, you're going to say, wow, this is what America looks like. And let me say a word about the incredible amount of gun violence that you have experienced here, that other cities and communities all over America have experienced. Our gun policy will be written by the American people, not the NRA. We will have universal background checks. People with violent backgrounds should not be owning guns. We're going to end the gun show loophole. And we are going to do what the American people want: ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in this country. And as a United States Senator, you know, I hear a lot of speeches on the floor of the Senate, and I hear some of my conservative Republican colleagues talk about small government and getting the government off the backs of the American people. And I say to those hypocrites, if you believe in getting the government off the backs of the American people, understand that it is women who have a right to control their own bodies, not the government. And let me say this to the men who are out there. The women in this country today are under assault. They're under attack every day. Men, stand up for the women. So my promise to you as president, I will never nominate anybody to the Supreme Court or the federal bench who is not 100% pro Roe v. Wade. We will codify, put into law Roe v. Wade, and we will significantly expand funding for Planned Parenthood. Now, as a United States Senator, I know the power of the corporate elites and the 1%. They are enormously powerful. They have endless amounts of money, underline endless. They own the media. They have a huge impact over the political life of our country. They buy and sell politicians. They obviously have an enormous impact over our economy. But at the end of the day, the 1% is 1%. And the last I heard, you know, I don't have a PhD in mathematics, but the last I heard is that 99% is a heck of a larger number than 1%. So if we stand together, if we do not allow Trump and his friends to divide us up, that's what they're trying to do every day. They're trying to divide us up, black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American, gay and straight. They want to divide us up, and when we get divided up, we are weak and powerless. When we stand together, when we come together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. You know, a few minutes ago, before I came on, I did a TV interview with a local TV station, and the fellow who was interviewing me said, you know, Texas is a conservative state. I don't believe it. What my impression, what I believe in this state, if working people, if young people, if the minority communities come out in large numbers, we can turn this state around. Your vote is your power. Not good enough to complain that you're earning starvation wages. Not good enough to complain you can't afford housing. Not good enough to complain about racism or sexism or xenophobia. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to get involved in the political process. This is the most consequential election in the modern history of this country. Texas will play an enormous role. If we win here in Texas, Trump is finished. On a week from Tuesday, Super Tuesday, Texas votes. There's early voting going on right now. Okay? Please vote early. Please bring your friends and your family and your neighbors out to vote. We can win the Texas primary. We can win the Democratic nomination. We can defeat Donald Trump. And we can